Hi, I'm Carrie with eatingonadime.com, and today on the Eating on a Dime show, we're making homemade hamburger helper. Hey friends! Okay, today I'm going to show you how to make dinner in 30 minutes or less. If you want the link for the recipe, it is in the description, or you can go to eatingonadime.com and search Homemade Hamburger Helper. So today we're making Hamburger Helper, but without the box. And you're going to be surprised. It's actually just as simple to make it at home. You can get the full recipe on eatingonadime.com. While we're chatting, all I'm doing is browning up the ground beef. I'm using my little meat thingy-mabobber. It's a professional term. And as it's browning, I like to wait until right before it's almost done browning, and then I like to add in the onions to saute the onions with the meat. So I started with a pound of hamburger meat, and then we're throwing in the onions. Let me know, friends, if you like Hamburger Helper. If meat and pasta is kind of like my kids' favorite thing. Like, you can't go wrong. It's one of those recipes that nobody will be mad that they're having. Now, obviously, I would say you want to cook this on your stovetop. I'm using just a, what is this thing called again? Why can't I remember this name? Stovetop thingy-mabobber. So that way it's easier for you to see on video. Okay, so homemade hamburger helper. This is like your basic cheesy hamburger helper. And at the end of the video, we'll talk about different ways that you can make it completely your own, where you can jazz it up to a taco mac, to an Italian flair. But today I'm making the basic cheesy hamburger helper. I am following my own recipe. And remember, if you want the recipe, you can say, hey, can I have the recipe? Let me know below and we will send you the direct link, or just go to eatingonadime.com and search Homemade Hamburger Helper. This is the perfect weeknight dinner because it takes less than 30 minutes from start to finish. In fact, the total time is about 25 minutes. A couple people have already said they don't like onions. You can eliminate the onions if you want to, or you could do in some dehydrated onions or onion powder, so that way you can get some of the flavors if it is a texture problem for you. Okay, once these onions are starting to get soft, they're already starting to get soft. Are we going to cover this? Oh, we're going to cover this. I need to get me a lid for this. Why this keeps browning. Let me grab a lid. Okay, get this to the side for when we need it. Okay, the meat is almost done. It just needs a little bit more browning. And then we'll get going, friends. If you want the recipe, say, hey, send me the recipe and we'll send it to you. But guys, you can get all our recipes on eatingonadime.com. Search Homemade Hamburger Helper. Okay, so now that the meat is browned and the onions are soft, we are going to season the meat. Now, if this is the time when you have any fat or grease, you would want to drain it off, but we used a really lean ground beef, so we can completely not do that. So now we're going to throw in some minced garlic. Then we have paprika, salt, and pepper. Mix that in. And we're just going to stir this in. Oh, and make a little bit of a mess. I should be wearing my apron, shouldn't I? Okay, once that is mixed in, we're going to do 2 cups of water and 1.5 cups of milk. So it's just like the regular box stuff, where you dump in your seasonings, then we're going to add our liquids, and last we're going to add our pasta. So I did water and the milk. The milk is what's going to make it super creamy and delicious. And now all we have to do, I'm going to stir this up, and all we have to do is wait. Once it starts to boil, I'm going to go ahead and cover it to kind of help it boil faster. But once it comes to a boil, we're going to stir in our pasta, and then we're going to let it come back to boil, and then we're going to reduce it to low and let it simmer until the pasta is cooked through. Now remember, this is uncooked pasta, just like you would in a boxed hamburger helper. So that way the pasta is going to cook in. And while I know you think that's a lot of liquid, the liquid is the pasta. The pasta is actually going to soak up all that liquid and make a delicious skillet casserole. My kids grew up me making hamburger helper back in the day because it was a super easy dinner. But once I realized how simple it was to make at home, it was kind of a no-brainer. Why buy the box stuff when you can make it just as fast and just as easy? Okay, there are ways that you can up the protein if you want to double the meat. You could add beans to it to add more protein. So while we're waiting for this to boil, let's go ahead and chat on different ways that you can make this your own. So if you want to make this a like cheddar mac, what I would do is definitely throw in a can of beans. You want to drain the beans and throw them in, and then you're still going to do everything else the same. Now in our regular recipe, we're calling for 3 cups of cheese, 2 cups of cheddar cheese, and then 1 cup of something else like a Monterey Jack, a mozzarella. You could do a Parmesan. We're doing a pepper jack cheese because we like a little bit of kick to our mac and cheese or our homemade hamburger helper. But if you're doing a mac one, then I would do all cheddar cheese. So if you want to do an Italian version, you could change out your noodles to like the little egg noodles instead of these. You could keep this though. You would take away the paprika and add an Italian seasoning. And then I would do mozzarella and Parmesan cheese in the Italian version. A taco mac, I would get rid of the paprika. I would add in a tablespoon of taco seasoning. I would still do this. You could throw in a can of black beans, and I would probably keep the cheese the same. So as you can see, you see how you're starting out with the same recipe. You're just tweaking it a little bit, and it's a completely new recipe for your family. So once you learn this easy method of a homemade hamburger helper, the possibilities are endless. Just by standing here, I gave you 4 different recipes. The Philly cheesesteak one, I mean, the possibilities are endless. You can just change out the pasta, change out the seasonings. But as long as you keep your liquid, your pasta, your meat kind of ratio the same, then you should be good to go. Okay, we're getting there. I can starting to bubble just a little bit. If you do want the recipe, say, hey, can I have the recipe? And we'll send it to you, or just go to eatingonadime.com and search homemade hamburger helper. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and stir it in, and then we're going to bring it to a boil on the stove once we're done with the video, because it's starting to boil. We're going to stir the pasta in. I'm going to cover it back and let it come back to a boil, just like you would in the box stuff. Then once you see it boiling, you're going to do a quick stir, and then you're going to reduce the heat to low. We're going to let it simmer for 9 to 12 minutes, depending on your pasta. So what I like to do is I like to look at the package of my pasta, and if it says like 9 minutes to 12 minutes, and I'm going to cook it about 9. I want to cook my pasta a little more al dente, because remember, it's going to sit in the pan, and then you're going to stir in your cheeses. So it's going to continue to cook, and you don't want soggy pasta. So always cook it on the lesser side. So if you were to do egg noodles are a lot faster to cook than the macaroni noodles are. I keep pointing this like there's pasta in here. There isn't. So definitely go by your noodles based on it. But as you can see, this is all I have left to do. Now we're going to stir this regularly, probably every couple minutes. So it is a meal that you kind of need to be, it's not like a crock pot meal or an Instant Pot meal where you can just walk away. You kind of have to be all hands on deck. But we already know that with a hamburger helper. But again, dinner done in 22 minutes. So 30 minutes or less. So once this pasta is done, if for some reason you have extra liquid in the pan that you weren't expecting, remove the lid and just let it sit. And it will continue to evaporate. Then right before you serve it, you're going to stir in the cheeses. Now on this recipe, we did 2 cups of cheddar cheese and then 1 cup of whatever cheese you want, whether it's mozzarella, Monterey Jack, or we like to do pepper jacks. We get a little bit of kick. And then that's it. Simple, easy. Tell me you can't do that. Okay, if you want the recipe, friends, say, hey, send me the recipe, or go to eatingonadime.com and search homemade hamburger helper so you can get it too. Oh yeah, it smells amazing. 30 minutes and dinner is done. Remember, go to the link in the description below and you can get the full recipe for a homemade hamburger helper plus ideas on how to make it your own. Don't forget, to like this video and subscribe for more family-friendly, easy recipes. Okay, that's it, friends. Thanks so much for joining me. I cannot wait to see your recipe creations and get dinner done in 30 minutes or less. Bye, friends.